Good morning and welcome back to Questioning Sense with me, Matt. I hope you guys are well. It's all good here. Everything's fine in our world. I've done the school run and yeah, I've got a day off. So I'm going to make a video and then spend the day in the kitchen rustling up something wonderful for our supper this evening. Well, that's the plan anyway. Now, I did mention in one of my previous videos that we were going to do a series of videos where we sort of explore new houses or new houses to us. And this is the first one. This is going to be about a house called Ostens, who are very, very new to me. They're not necessarily new. They've been around since the sort of end of 2018. But up until recently, I'd never heard of them. Now, you've got to understand that I'm obsessed with perfume and spend all my time sort of researching and looking into perfume and reading about perfume, that kind of thing. And I'd never heard of these guys. So the chances are, that a lot of you guys won't have heard of them either. So I think it's really important that we get this video out there because what they're doing is absolutely amazing. Now, as I say, they started at the end of 2018 and the two people behind the brand are a chap called Christopher Yu and another chap called Laurent Delafont. Please accept my apologies at the beginning of the video because there will be ample opportunity for me to butcher the French language as the video goes on. Now, as someone who has French family who spends a lot of time in France, that's really, really embarrassing and I have no excuses, so I do apologise. But these two created the brand. Now, they both have sort of like 20 years experience in perfumery. They're very, very knowledgeable. And I think the brand was formulated after a trip to Grasse in France, which is, the epicenter of French perfumery or European perfumery, I think you could probably say. A very, very famous part of the world, and especially in the world of perfume, it's kind of like a whole town that's dedicated to growing materials and making perfume. Fantastic. I've never been, but I would love to have a trip over there at some point. So after a trip there, I think they were talking to people within the industry, and the idea of Ostens was born. And I think what they set out was to do things differently. They wanted to, to quote from their website, sort of rip up the rule book and make perfumes that are focused on a kind of a raw material, natural perfumery, and just take something new to the market that there's a place for. And obviously there is, because what they've done is they've achieved something quite amazing. There are 6 perfumes in the collection, and each perfume you can get an oil that goes with it. And what they've done is they've gone out. They haven't just done this lightly. What they've done is they've spoken to some of the greatest names that are currently working in perfume. So some of the people that have made perfumes for this collection are people like Dominique Ropignon, Sophie Labbe, and various others. So they've really, really gone for it, and the results are quite astonishing. So I spoke to the guys on Instagram. Explained I'd never heard of them, and they were really, really ultra friendly as well. Fabulous people to speak to. And what they did was they very kindly sent me this, which is their discovery set. And what I will say is I get sent an awful lot of samples and discovery sets, and I get sent the odd bottle. But this is something quite unique to me. I mean, prior to doing the channel, I would order a few samples or the odd discovery set, that kind of thing. And I don't think once this has happened. Even my favourite collection, the Auto Parisi House, it took me a while to like all of them as much as I do now. This is the first time that I've received a discovery set where, after spending time smelling all of them, I want them all. Basically, there is not a weak link in this collection. These are all stunning, stunning perfumes. And I'm absolutely blown away. My levels of excitement when it comes to Ostens are up there. We're dialed up to 11, shall we say. It's just, they've just done something absolutely magical, and I'm so glad I found them. If you are going to order one discovery set a year, make sure it's this one. And I really genuinely mean that. I know that when we're making YouTube videos, we've got to be very, very careful about hyping and things like that, because what works for me might not work for you, and I'm telling you it's the best thing since sliced bread. It might not be for you. But honestly, the quality and the smell in this box of delights is something that you really, really need to explore. I'm going to talk a little bit about each of the perfumes. Obviously, I can't spend too much time doing a sort of a review of 6 perfumes in one video. Will be a bit outrageous. But what I am going to do is keep this back, and then I will do kind of like a video on each of the perfumes in turn, because they all need to be celebrated. So what we'll do now is we'll just do a quick run through of each of them, so just to give you an idea of what they're about. And then we'll have a little bit more of a chat about the brand. So when this arrived, now you must also understand that my wife and son are quite long suffering when it comes to my perfume hobby stroke addiction. I'm forever spraying them or trying to get them involved in sampling of this and sampling of that. And they're quite often, you know, they resist it. they're bored of perfume basically, because I'm banging on about it all the time. But when this arrived, it came on a Saturday morning. I was off work, my wife was off work, my son was, you know, obviously not at school. And, you know, there was a knock at the door. The courier dropped the perfumes off. I rushed in and ripped them open. It was beautiful packaging as well, by the way. You've got this lovely little stuff about the brand here that came with it, which is really, really nice, giving you a nice introduction and description to the perfumes, a little bit more about Ostens, and then a lovely handwritten note from Christopher and Lauren. So that was a great start, and it came wrapped up like a little present. So I tore it all open. I was like, wee. I had done some research on the brand, on the perfumes before they arrived, and you know there was one that I particularly wanted to try. So I went straight for that one, sprayed it on my arm, sort of let it settle, and then something weird happened. My wife went, oh, that's lovely. What's that? So I showed her it, and she was like, oh, can I try one? This never happens. She never volunteers herself. There's one of the perfumes called Jasmine Absolute. My wife is an absolute lover of jasmine and florals in general. So she sprayed that, and she just sort of sat back, her eyes kind of rolled back, and she was, oh, that's amazing. She absolutely adored it. My son, not being one wanting to, you know, be left out, he said, well, Daddy, can I try one, please? And I was like, of course. So I gave him Cedarwood Heart to try, and he sprayed that on his arm, and he was very happy with it. And we all sort of sat together and we were chatting away. And then I could smell this absolutely beautiful orris note, and I was wondering, where's it coming from? And it was coming from my son. It was coming from Cedarwood Heart. It has the most amazing orris note in it, in the mid. It's beautiful. So if we look at the collection now, you have Kashmir and Velvet, which is a sandalwood and vanilla, slightly smoky, cedar-y type perfume. Beautiful. Then you have a Rose Oil Esparta, which is obviously a rose perfume with some berries and some pepper, and it's a delight. Now, bearing in mind, I've got probably 20 rose-dominant fragrances. That is as good as any of them. It holds up with all of them. It's an absolute stunning, stunning rose. Then you have Patchouli Heart number 1, which is obviously celebrating patchouli. Then you have Patchouli Heart number 2, which again celebrates patchouli, but in a completely different way. Then we have Jasmine Absolute, which is my wife's favourite. And then Cedarwood Heart, which is kind of like a bergamot and spicy with this beautiful orris in it. These are the perfumes that are there. There is something here for everyone, but what I'm astounded by is the quality of it. What they've done is when they've spoken to these perfumers to make the perfume, they haven't given them a brief at all. They've just said, celebrate the material, make a stunning perfume. Don't worry about cost, don't worry about materials, just go and make the best perfume you can with the material that you want. And that's what's happened. And what they've done is they've done such a great job of it. And what I'm really impressed about, without a brief, in my experience, when perfumers get let loose to use whatever they want, I think there's always the urge to push the boundaries as far as you possibly can. And quite often that results in an incredible perfume, but what it can also end up with is an incredibly unwearable perfume. I really like challenging perfumes, you know, niche perfume is kind of where my heart is. And I love the more complex and more tricky to wear. But what they've done here now, well, I'm hoping that this is by coincidence, because if you're not giving someone a brief, it's very difficult to rein people in. Every single one of these is completely wearable. Now, if you're, you know, really into your niche perfumes, your boundaries are slightly more stretched, and you can probably get on with a lot more challenging perfume than, say, someone who's got a large collection of very nice designer fragrances. And you often hear that when people try and make that sort of jump across, you know, they go out and they try lots of niche perfumes, and because they're, you know, they find them a little too challenging, there's this kind of like dismiss, oh, niche, it's all a bit, you know, ugh, I'm not interested in niche perfumery, it's a waste of money, blah, blah, blah. What this collection does is shows that there's a bridge, that you can have people that like high quality, well-made, beautiful perfumes that are very much in the niche world, but they're not challenging at all. They're just an absolutely outstanding wear. Every single one of them in their own way takes you on a lovely little journey. They all lead you through the materials and let them all shine. They're just, it's so, so good. They're beautiful, beautiful perfumes. So the question was, you know, is there going to be one that I like the most? And this is really, really hard because, as I said, I would happily own every single one of these. They're just devastatingly good. And I obviously thought that Patchouli #1 was going to be the one for me, or Patchouli Heart #1 was going to be the one for me, and I loved it. I then became really obsessed with Cedarwood Heart, which the one that my son sprayed, because I love that Oris. But bizarrely, Kashmir and Velvet was the one that absolutely stole my heart. Now, this was made by Sophie Labate, and I get why I like it so much, because she's made a couple of perfumes for Foreku, which I have samples of, and I really, really enjoy them. But she also did Sesame Chan for Anamina Vinci, and that is an absolutely delicious perfume as well. So I really like her style of perfumery, and it's just awesome. Kashmir and Velvet, it celebrates sandalwood. I mean, the whole perfume is based around this Kashmiran, which is a molecule effectively, but it's like a smoky, woodsy style molecule, and it's very, very beautiful. As the perfume says, it's a velvety perfume. It's got a lovely, lovely texture to you when you smell it. I'm wearing it on this hand at the moment, but what they've done is they've got this wonderful vanilla in the base that just smooths everything out with a killer sandalwood that is just divine. This perfume for me is utter perfection, so that had to be my favourite from the collection. I absolutely love it. Now, obviously in London we are still under very, very strict lockdown, as I mentioned earlier, but as soon as that's lifted, I'm going to be up to the shop like a shot, up to that boutique, just to meet the guys and get amongst it. They're making such good perfume is what I'm trying to say, and as I say, please, please, please give these a try. You will be really, really finding a new favourite house. I'm surprised I haven't heard much more hype about these, because the quality is there. And when we talk about quality, that's all well and good. If a perfume's great quality, fantastic, that's all the better. But it's got to smell good. Let's not forget, perfume is about smell and how you smell things, how it makes you feel, how it makes the people around you feel. Everything is just perfect. I love it. But please, if you get a chance, when the shops reopen, go in and see them and have a smell. And if you live too far from London, then, get the sample set or the discovery set and give them a try out, because they really, really are doing something absolutely amazing. I understand that they're going to be developing the collection. I think there's going to be more perfumes added over time, which is a great thing, because what they're doing at the moment is just, well, it's inspired. So there you go. Sorry that this was a very gushy kind of review, but it was always going to be. I'm genuinely hyper impressed with this. And as I say, what I will do is I'll come back and try and do a full sort of breakdown and give you my complete thoughts on each one of these beautiful, beautiful perfumes. So listen, guys, thank you very much for your time. It's always a pleasure making these videos. I'm ever so grateful for you watching them. So from me and Rich, I hope you guys are well, and we will see you soon on the next video. Cheers, thanks, and bye.